Today, we are embarking on an absolutely incredible journey. We are going to bridge the gap between our planet's deep, forgotten past and humanity's ultimate future in the cosmos. We're heading into a landscape that is so remote, so mysterious, and honestly, so utterly alien that you might just forget what planet you're actually standing on. So, I want to kick things off by asking you this. Where on Earth can you find ancient Martian gods, deep red alien dunes, and quite possibly the actual key to discovering extraterrestrial life? I know, it sounds exactly like the plot of a sci-fi movie, right? But the crazy thing is, all of these elements converge in one very real, very extreme location. Section 1, Earth's very own Mars. Okay, let's dive into this. We're traveling to the southeastern corner of Algeria, deep into the heart of the Sahara Desert, to a place called the Tassili Niger Plateau. And the scale of this place is just mind-blowing. We are talking 28,000 square miles of deep red, eroded sandstone rock forests. Over countless millennia, wind and time have carved nearly 300 natural rock arches and these towering stone columns that perfectly mimic an alien landscape. It's this completely surreal, barren environment. If you were dropped right in the middle of these stone giants, you'd swear you'd been teleported directly to the surface of Mars. But to actually explore this Martian-like world today, you have to be ready for absolute extremes. It is incredibly harsh out there. Just think about the essential survival gear modern photographers and researchers have to pack for an expedition. They need 5 degrees Celsius sleeping bags to survive the freezing desert nights. They have to bring solar power banks because, well, you're entirely off the grid. They use 10-stop ND filters on their cameras just to handle the blinding glare of the sun. Plus, they're packing carbohydrate gels to keep their energy up and multiple headlamps to navigate the pitch-black rock forests after dark. It's an intensely unforgiving environment where just surviving is a daily challenge.
Section 2, when the Sahara was green.
Now, what if I told you that this bone-dry, harsh desert wasn't always like this? Here is a massive twist. In the language of the local Tuareg nomads, Tassili Niger actually translates to plateau of rivers. Let that sink in for a second. We're comparing the completely arid reality of the modern Sahara to a landscape literally named for rivers. How on earth could a place with virtually no water earn a name like that? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the climate timeline. Going back about 14,000 years before present, the African humid period began. Fast forward to 10,000 years ago, and this whole region was what we call the Green Sahara. It wasn't a desert at all. It was a lush savanna, absolutely thriving with rivers, lakes, and wild animals. Literally, there were crocodiles living there. But then, around 7,500 years ago, dramatic climate shifts kicked in, causing severe aridification. The lakes started drying up, which completely forced humans to adapt to their disappearing resources. By 6,000 years ago, we see the emergence of organized pastoralism. People started herding domesticated cattle just to survive, as that lush green savanna slowly transformed into the red desert we know today.
Section 3, Art of the Roundheads.
And those ancient people who actually lived through that massive climate shift, they left behind something absolutely extraordinary on the canyon walls. 15,000. That is the staggering number of prehistoric rock engravings and paintings that have been identified in this park so far. 15,000! That makes Tassili Niger one of the largest and most important open-air galleries in the entire world. It's just this unparalleled, sweeping record of human history carved directly into the rock. But out of all the different styles of ancient art out there, there's one specific period that stands out as truly bizarre. It's called the Roundhead period, dating roughly from 6,000 to 5,000 BCE. The artists from this era painted these giant, eerie, floating humanoid figures. And, true to the name, they have these massive, completely featureless round heads. They almost look like they're wearing space helmets or diving suits. It's a completely unearthly aesthetic, and it matches the alien vibe of the surrounding landscape perfectly. In fact, back in 1933, when French archaeologist Henri Laut discovered a massive 6-meter-tall roundhead painting, he immediately dubbed it the Great Martian God. Even almost a century ago, explorers couldn't help but stare at this art and immediately think of visitors from another world. So it begs the question, what exactly were these ancient artists drawing? Well, researchers like Giorgio Samarini and Terence McKenna proposed what's known as the mushroom shaman hypothesis. They suggest that these strange floating figures, some of which actually look like they're holding mushroom-shaped objects, might depict ancient hallucinogenic rituals. Now, to be clear, this is very much a fringe academic hypothesis, and scholars definitely debate its accuracy. We're not saying it's a fact, but it is a fascinating academic curiosity, and it really highlights just how enigmatic and open to interpretation these ancient artworks are. Section 4. Finding life on Mars. But here's where the story takes an amazing turn. Tassili, Algeria isn't just a window into our ancient human past. It's actually becoming a testing ground for our future in space. The crucial pivot here involves an Algerian PhD student named Youssef Salem. Picture this. Salam and his father journeyed to an Algerian quarry, and using just a simple hammer and chisel, they manually chipped away 60 pounds of ancient gypsum rock. This very grassroots, totally human effort out in the Algerian landscape is right now helping scientists figure out how to find microbial life on Mars. And here is exactly why those specific Algerian rocks matter so much. Think about it like this. On Earth, during something called the Messinian salinity crisis, the Mediterranean Sea was completely cut off and it rapidly evaporated. When it did, it left behind these thick layers of gypsum that perfectly preserved ancient fossilized biosignatures. Well, on Mars, an incredibly similar process happened. Ancient Martian waters evaporated rapidly, leaving behind thick layers of sulfate deposits. So the gypsum from Algeria is literally the absolute perfect terrestrial analog for Martian surface deposits. Meaning, if we can figure out how to detect ancient life in these Algerian rocks, we can use the exact same methods to search for life on Mars. Okay, so how do they actually do it? Well, Salem tested this cutting-edge piece of tech called a miniature LIMS, which stands for Laser Ablation Ionization Mass Spectrometer. It's a brilliant process. First, this tiny laser blasts the gypsum rock. Then, the intense heat vaporizes the material, creating these atomic fragments. And finally, by analyzing the chemical spectra of those fragments, Salem successfully detected elements like clay, dolomite, and get this, fossilized sulfur-oxidizing bacteria. He literally found the chemical footprint of ancient life hiding deep inside the stone. Biochemist Bonnie Baxter really hits the nail on the head here regarding the massive significance of all this. She says, what this study in Algeria really does is it highlights that you can use chemical methods to infer that biology is in the mineral, and chemical methods are just a little more transferable to Mars. This is a total game changer. Because this LIMS instrument is miniature, it can actually be strapped onto a spaceflight rover. The exact same laser tech that found ancient bacteria in a chunk of Algerian gypsum could absolutely be the very tool that finally discovers life on the red planet. Section 5. The Ultimate Connection. It's truly amazing how this entire story ties together, right? From the deepest, earliest chapters of human civilization, all the way to the bleeding edge of modern space exploration. Tassili Algeria serves as this profound link. On one hand, you have Neolithic artists painting their so-called Martian gods on sandstone walls as their green world turned to desert, driven by this ancient human urge to document reality. And then on the other hand, you have modern Algerian scientists pulling gypsum from those exact same ancient formations to test the technology that will lead our quest to discover life in the cosmos. So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. As we look up to the stars to find the origins of life, could the blueprint for that discovery have been hiding in the sands of the Sahara all along? It's a powerful reminder that sometimes, to understand the mysteries of the universe, we first have to look deeply into our own Earth. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep your eyes on the stars and the sands.